So we were aware that what we were doing in 2008 would change, but at the time it was cutting edge stuff, so we were fairly confident in what we were doing was ticking all the boxes in terms of providing good content to our customers in a really usable and accessible way. And this is what our website looked like after we redesigned it in 2008. This is a typical page. In fact, this is the most visited page on the website at the time. It was for claiming tax relief on medical expenses. And it illustrates the sort of approach we took in the design of our website and in the way we presented content. The main navigation bar across the top in green there shows you the way we broke the content up into discrete chunks that made perfect sense to us at the time. We have our navigation then down the left hand side. It's all standard stuff. And then we had the meat, the information that customers were looking for. And this is the same page. So we told them everything. There's 5,500 words on that page, and that was an example of the approach we took, which was effectively the kitchen sink approach. Everything you could possibly want to know was on the website, and it was a perfectly logical assumption that we were making. We didn't want people clicking around. Give them everything they could possibly know. And some of the things we did on our website, we laugh at them now. We put lots of FAQs up on the website, and these are questions that no one had asked except us. And we had FAQs that had, the worst one I personally came across had 39 questions, and no one in their right mind was going to skip down through 39 questions to find an answer to something. But it was symptomatic of the approach we took. It was the kitchen sink, everything you could possibly want to know. So obviously our website started to grow very quickly as we put more and more content on. And a good example of this happened in 2013 when local property tax was launched. This was a completely new tax, and we took the launch of it extremely seriously from a communications point of view, and we literally put dozens and dozens of pages of content about it up on the website. Again, this idea, tell everyone everything. A year before we redesigned the website in 2008, the first smartphone appeared, the iPhone. At the time it was a fantastic piece of a kit, it was a great gadget, but it was nothing more than a gimmick at the time, and we were looking at our website on smartphones at the time, and look at your website was really all you could do, because you certainly couldn't read it. You had to do your usual stuff to enlarge the font, and of course then you lost all sense of where you were on the website. So we didn't really think about it as a problem back in 2008, but of course it did become a problem when the smartphone absolutely took off, and more people started accessing websites on smaller screens, and people started moving to these responsive websites. So your website renders differently depending on the device you're using. So as time progressed, we became aware of two issues with our website. One, it was getting bigger and bigger, and secondly, it wasn't responsive. You still had this miniaturized version of our website showing up on smart devices. And one of the things we decided we'd have to do when we were modernizing the website was to get a content management system onto it, literally because there was so much stuff going onto it. We didn't have a review mechanism, so what was happening was we had loads, because we're a big organization, we have lots of authors spread around the place, and they were putting content up on the website, and then some of them were remembering to update it and some weren't, so there was content getting out of date. We didn't have a formal review mechanism in place, so you had content going out of date. We didn't have an audit trail. We were keeping spreadsheets of who put what up where, but it would have been much handier if we had a system that kept tabs on what was being done. And then, of course, we had a problem with duplication, or in some cases triplication and quadruplication, because we would have circumstances where more or less the same content was being produced by different people and going up on different parts of the website, and it would get updated in one part and not in another, so you'd have 3 or 4 different versions of the same content up on the website. And of course, when you searched for it, on that topic, you get 4 results and you couldn't tell which one was the right one. So we knew we had a problem in terms of content management, and we also knew we wanted to make our website responsive to meet the fact that more and more people were accessing content on their smartphones. So these effectively were the 2 drivers that were behind the impetus to modernise our website for the second time. And we started looking at this seriously in 2015. So it wasn't 2 years after 2008 that we decided to do this. But before we actually embarked on the project, we decided to do a little bit of research into how people actually interact with websites, how they consume content online. And this was probably the smartest move we made. Now, we didn't do the research ourselves, we just piggybacked on what other people were doing, the likes of Google and Facebook and Amazon and all these web presences. And what we learned was literally frightening. When you 2 were touring Zooropa, I think they used to beam all these phrases up onto big screens, and one of them was, "Everything you know is wrong." And it turned out that everything we thought we knew about websites was wrong. People don't read them, they skim them. The more stuff you put up there, the less they read. If you've got more than a certain number of words, they switch off. When we saw this, we were absolutely horrified, because we knew anecdotally that things had changed in terms of online content, but when you see it written down like this, it's really kind of shocking. We also looked at how people literally look at websites. We got this heat map that Google produced, and it shows you where people look on web pages when they first open them. And they look up in the top left-hand corner. That's where they expect to see something of relevance to them. And the further you go down the page, the less they look at it. Now, this is a search results page, and what this meant for Google was that if your search result was coming in down here, people simply weren't going to see it. If you're not in the top 5, you're not at the races. But it holds true for all sorts of web pages. If somebody doesn't see something that means something to them up there, they'll think they're on the wrong page. So people, this is reiterating what Shane was saying, people want to find stuff immediately. This is the Google effect. It's able to read your mind. You just type in a letter and it seems to have the result you want. They want to find stuff immediately. They want to skim it. They want to understand it. And the window you have to hold their attention is 4 to 7 seconds. So when we then looked at our page, we saw we were breaking all the rules, literally every one of them. Top left-hand corner of a page really wasn't a clear indicator that we were on about health expenses here. Okay, you had the heading, but that was the only clear indication that you were talking about it. In fact, when you look at the content, we first start talking about one of our online services, then we give you some spiel about another online service, then we give you some general information about health expenses, but nothing of substance. And it's only when you get down here, the blue part of the screen, that we start talking about it. So we simply had to fundamentally rethink the way we were presenting information on the website. Another thing we learned was that this is the result of a NALA survey, the National Adult Literacy Agency. 1 in 6 Irish adults has difficulty understanding basic text. Now, by no stretch of the imagination can you describe the Irish taxation system as basic text. It's complicated by nature. So you're probably looking at 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 people might have difficulty understanding what we're talking about. You can't exclude 20 to 25% of your audience by using complicated terms and language. So all of this fed into our thinking about the website, and it fundamentally changed the direction that we were going to take on it, because we decided we were going to restructure the content and rewrite it. And this turned out to be a mammoth task, because back in 2015 we had, I think it's 5,220 pages of content, and some of those pages had, you know, thousands and thousands of words on them. So it was an absolutely enormous task. So the center of gravity of the project shifted from a content management system and rendering properly on devices. We still wanted to do that, but now our real focus was on the content. And in terms of restructuring, we were looking at 2 sides of a coin. One, we wanted to restructure the content on the website, but we also wanted to restructure it on the page to make it easier to read, easier to scan. And then we made another very clever decision. We decided to ask our customers about the website. And we formed customer panels, and we brought them in at an early stage and showed them early designs of the website, and we asked them, does that make sense to you? And as the website progressed through various iterations of the design process, we brought them back in. And we held workshops where we asked people, where we say had a fairly good structure of a website, a sort of a beta website available, and we'd ask them to find things on it, and we watched what they were doing. And we had put content in certain places, in places that we thought made perfect sense, and it was really instructive to watch people looking for stuff. And when we would ask them, why do you think it's over there? Would you not look over there? No, I wouldn't. I'd look over here. And it was this kind of feedback that we got that helped us to build the website around the customer. Essentially, we took the view, the website isn't for revenue, it's for people who have to interact with revenue. And a lot of our customers, the vast majority of our customers are PAYE taxpayers. They have very little interaction with us at the best of times, because it's an automatic system. So they may visit our website once or twice a year or once every 18 months. And on that basis, effectively every visit is the first time, because you can't remember what you did 18 months ago. So this kind of feedback is really, really useful to us. Because people like myself, I've been in revenue for 35 years. No matter how hard I try, I can't think outside that kind of a bubble. I like to think I'm impartial and logical and all this, but I'm institutionalized. And it was only by, I should be institutionalized. But it was only by asking the customer and listening to what they were saying, and we took very careful note of what they were saying. And they helped us design the website. And what we decided to do was essentially to stratify information on the website. What we would present on web pages is what you need to know, and that's all. And then access to online services in context. So just the basics, what you need to know to find something out, to perform a specific task, and immediate access in context to an online service. A layer below that, we would put the technical stuff. If you want to know more, you can look at it, but we're not shoving it into your face. So effectively, we structured the website like this. You have your home page, and I'll show you the home page in a couple of seconds now. But that presents you with blocks of information. Because we have so much information, we had to go through another layer of breaking that down into smaller blocks at this layer. And then you have your information pages. And this is the stuff you need to know, the basics. If you want to know more, there's another layer underneath, but you don't have to go there. We're also very much aware of the difference between navigation and search. As my colleague Ken was saying, from our study of analytics, about 61% of the people who visit our website do so through Google or Bing or Yahoo. So they're landing in the website out of context. They put a term into Google and they land somewhere. And we took the view that wherever they land, the page has to stand by itself. It has to make sense. You can't be asking people to scroll back and forward to get a context for it. The page has to stand on its own merits. We still wanted to make the website as navigable as possible, but most people don't navigate. They don't land on your front page and find their way to the information. They land on it straight away. So we're very conscious of that in the design approach that we took. And this is the front page of our new website. Now, it's inescapable for us. We have lots of information that we want to communicate. So there are compromises involved in it. Literally everything can't be up in the top left-hand corner of your website. So primarily we broke the important stuff up into 12 blocks, and we put meaningful titles on them. And these titles were the subject of discussion by customer panels as well. So we came up with suggestions for them and we ran them by our customer panels, and they said, I don't know what that means. So we changed them. So this is the meat in the sandwich. We also use Google Analytics on the site to find out what people are doing, what they're looking at. And based on that, the results of the analytics, we have these popular topics. These are the pages most people are visiting. So when you land on this page, if you happen to land on the home page, and you by instinct look up here, there's a good chance you'll see what you want straight away because it's based on underlying analytics. So that's the home page. And this is a standard page on our website now. And that's all that's on that page in terms of content. We've developed fairly strict rules about what you can and cannot do on a web page. One of them is you can't have more than 500 words on a page. Now some topics are fairly complicated and it takes more than 500 words, so we allow people to build clusters of pages around the topic. We call it a hub, and you can have up to 8 pages in a hub, and they have their own internal navigation, so you can move back and forth in that hub. But all of the pages are short, and as you can see, we've broken it up into bullet points and short paragraphs. Again, I'll be speaking more about that. Over here you have the extra stuff. This is the other layer. You don't need it, but it's available to you in context. So we have related topics up there. This is like iTunes. If you bought that, you might be interested in this. So based on analytics, we have links to other parts of the website up there that you may be interested in because you're looking here. And then we have further guidance. This is the real techie stuff. You can look at it if you want. It's available here, but you don't have to look at it. So we try to keep everything as stripped down and as simple as possible. And that's what a lot of our web pages look like. Quite a lot of our web pages are single standalone pages, and they might only have 30 or 40 words on it. But if that's all we have to say, that's all we're saying. And it was very much a matter of clearing up and not dumbing down. The late great economist John Kenneth Galbraith used to have this idea about his fellow economists being members of a secular priesthood, and they hid behind this the special language of economics, which was basically incomprehensible to everyone else. And he said there was 2 reasons for this. One, they were trying to impress themselves with how smart they were. And secondly, they didn't really know what they were talking about, so they hid behind this language. So this was part of our approach. Do we understand what we want to say and get the message as clearly put as you could? The problem with doing that is it's very difficult to write clearly. The great philosopher Dolly Parton has a great line, in self-deprecation. She says it costs a lot of money to look this cheap. And in a similar sort of vein, it takes a lot of effort to be simple. It's much harder to write a short, concise, clear message. People just have a tendency to ramble on a bit, and it's something you have to constantly fight against. But this was our mantra: we're clearing up, we're not dumbing down. There. Now, getting to the content, we adopted what we call the 7 commandments. Keep customer needs in mind. This is a no-brainer. Use the inverted pyramid approach. Tabloid newspapers use this all the time. They simply tell you the punchline first, and then they explain the story afterwards. Whereas if you get the Financial Times, you probably won't find out what you're reading about until you get to the last paragraph. But we definitely wanted this idea of people landing on a website, they want to see the answer or the information straight away. So give it to them. Break content into small, easy to digest chunks. That's